right. Good to go. All right, we'll call to order the Town of Allenstown November 5th Planning Board meeting, and we'll stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Present on the board, and my name is absent.
Michael Johnson.
Right.
Snella.
Well, it was an alternate last time, since Kathleen is not here in a while.
I think it was me.
Okay,
Pretty sure it was me.
all right, since Kathleen is absent, then I will invite Caitlin to be a voting member tonight.
All right. Very good.
All right. And fine, Audrey, and then do you have anyone online?
We have nobody on Matt Monahan has to be excused. He's got a bunch of stuff going on at home. Kathleen's excused because she's at another meeting. And Brian Arthur excused as well.
Fair enough. All right, jumping in, anything under old business? No. All right, so for new business, Mike, we've got the proposed amendments.
So in your package, you have basically everything that we need to do to comply with the RSA changes this year. Some of which are already enforced, a couple of which don't come into force. But we have to catch up anyway in the ordinance. Can only do that once a year. So basically all of the things in front of you contain that, except if you look at pages, page 43, the second page, and the next few pages after that, we are capping up with a change in RSA 672:1, 5-A from 2024, which basically requires municipalities, cities, etc., to allow family childcare homes, group childcare homes in any residential development under certain conditions, like as an accessible use to a primary residence, for example, in this home. Then we are required to permit that and no longer require site plan review. So we got the site plan review part of it right, but we didn't quite catch. We got some of the other of it right, but we didn't catch it all. So we're fixing that.
What's the difference between family childcare, group childcare?
One is up to 6. Group childcare is defined as 6 or above, so 7. The difference in the RSAs and in our ordinance. Well, that's where the number came from. Don't know. And then so starting on page 69, chapter 13, for all the other stuff going. So last time we talked about parking, so section 13.3 parking requirements. We now can no longer require more than one parking spot for each dwelling unit. We used to be able to require minimum 1.5. That's not down to 1. And then if you flip over to the next page, that's where all the fun is. So on these subsequent pages is everything that's now basically required by RSA. And having looked through the ordinance, last met multiple times, this is really the only place we can capture this stuff. And so that we don't lose sight of it. It's we're required to comply. So the language is from each of these sections is pretty much from the RSA, just tweaked for Allenstown. Say Allenstown, for example, we have like building code board review. That's the ZBA Allenstown, that kind of thing. So it's been tweaked for that. To say Town of Allenstown in several places. But it's very clear we're talking about the Town of Allenstown, what we can and cannot do, and also to the capital to get it into our ordinance compliance. with the revised RSA. So there's quite a few pages on that. So basically everything from dwelling unit occupancy, developments on private or class 6 roads. And when the legislature made a change to what they call private or class 6 roads, they did not distinguish between private and class 6 roads. They're both the same. So a private road may not be a class 6 road, and it may be a class 5 road, but it's still a private road that the town normally doesn't, maintain all that kind of. Town hasn't taken, ownership of. So basically,
But classic road we own,
traffic roads we own, and previously
this is, that confuse, it's a little bit confusing at the beginning.
it
You know,
is,
I don't know if we can separate private.
we really
or
can.
classic road.
I would say,
We can put an or in there, because DOT classifies, and we get paid
yeah,
for all the classic
Right.
roads we own in
Right.
town.
this change to the ordinance only addresses the ability of an applicant to build a structure or a residence adjacent to a class 6 road. It doesn't deal with anything else regarding class 6 roads. Okay, and there's a bunch of requirements that the applicant would have to meet, like for the building is insurable, that they have a pond, and all sorts of different things, right? So, but it only deals with that portion of class 6 and private roads.
Right, but what I'm saying is that a private road is not, a class 6 road is not a private.
According to the ordinance, there's no distinction between it right now. But I know what you're saying, but for the purposes of this revised RSA, the legislature made no distinction between private and class 6 roads. So these requirements apply equally to private and class.
What is the purpose of the drive?
It is a private road. It's a private road. Not class 6, no, not the private road. So no class, it's not a road classified by the state. So we don't get any money when we get our block grant money from the state. Because of the amount of roads we maintain, that's not road that they have, it's not road, as far as it's private way.
But the land is the same.
Private,
Private road, yeah.
it's all in private. Any private road. It's a good problem.
So similarly for the rest of these, it speaks to, buildings on streets and how it appeals for that. Exemptions from the regulation of subdivision of land. And we've done probably before, times, when I read it all, that's captured on. Powers of what the RSA called powers of the building code board of appeals, which are now some as the CBA, so that's why I put CBA in parentheses on that, so we're clear about who that is in Allenstown, what's that function. Appeals of decisions of the CBA, they amended to basically add that the basically talking about fire marshal and fire. And that the ZBA can't, basically do anything that's outside of the existing state regulation. And then, again, the membership, this was sort of already covered. The only thing membership in the ZBA, so basically what they did, was they took out where elected and put in an appointed individual. And it clarified that the appointed individual must live in a municipality. Which we already practice anyway, but they captured it. And then the big one for us is that multi-family residential development is now permitted by right basically on commercially owned land. Okay. So basically in our light industrial commercial zone here in town, if somebody wanted to put in the development of multi-family residences, they have to be allowed to do that. They still must meet all the requirements on the site plan regulations and like safety code, all that kind of thing. But with they cannot do that basically anymore. They want to do that.
They also,
Thing from single family home.
the town services have to be able to
Yes,
support them.
yeah, so they have like town services, or they have to have water and sewer. You know, like septic and well, whatever it is, right, that kind of thing. All those regulations still stay in place. But it's just that if a developer comes in and wants to put up 5 multi-family residential units, they can. In the commercial zone.
In business and industrial. For us, because we allow
Yeah,
retail
yeah,
and office.
we do, yeah, in local public, yeah, so, by right, yeah, so this was just. Basically clarifying that municipalities must allow this now. And it's,
Yeah.
again, it comes down to,
July first,
yeah,
next year.
next year, yeah, it comes down to. Vision of conditional housing units, it's really what they're trying to do. Yes.
Yeah, and are we happy that we were just lay down and take that, or is that, I mean, is that something everybody agrees is a good thing? And
We have no choice, so,
well, there's things we could do to either fight it or mitigate the effect
we could, and,
for.
I think we would
Maybe
be involved.
We could develop some language and talk to our rep and have someone introduced to make some amendments to it. If we were gonna fight it,
We could, but in the
if
meantime,
we were gonna
well,
mitigate, not till July first.
yeah, I know,
If we were gonna mitigate it, you know, we could do something like adjust the language in industrial and say industrial, for example, and eliminate the allow retail and put in office space, for an example, that you mitigate it, then
I would say
this would not be applied to that zone.
that's very unlikely to happen before July 1st next year.
Well, if we
We can't change this, right now, we cannot.
can't change the state,
No.
right, we would have to bill.
Yeah.
And it would have to be voted on,
We gotta
you know, it's constantly the bill, which could happen next year or next legislature.
Not unfortunately.
But more, I'm just saying that, I mean, if we're totally against it. Then there's things we could do to either fight it or mitigate it. I don't know if there's any will for anybody to do that, or we just take that and say, that's great. There'll be more families and that's what it's all about anyways, and. You know, lucky for them, this is a new school. I mean, that's fine if that's where it's go, but if it's not, then there's things we can do to mitigate.
See, I'm definitely against this whole idea because we're so landlord. And that it's just advantageous for us homes. Because that increases in demands for town services and for school services. As opposed to businesses which provide extra income to offset property tax and residents.
Well, I'm for more homes, I'm just not for doubling of the population stuff. And the impact that would have on the school system. That's my big thing, so I wouldn't want to see. What we were talking, like maybe 600 units that are already being talked about, and then whatever more, so it's
No,
not
that's
people and.
that was a whole.
But he is planning,
What would happen?
he is planning on putting a multi-family apart, I mean, he's planning on doing that, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's 60 acres, he is. I dealt with that kind of.
Well, again, that was,
So-
that would come before the
Yeah.
planning board. If facilities can't support it, then that would be for the decision.
Yeah, so my point is that if we're against it and we want to find ways to mitigate it, now would be the time to do it. You know, we'll just take it, and if there's no will to oppose it or try to do things mitigate, that's fine.
So the board, 2 things can happen. To your point. The board can ignore this and be forced into compliance on July 1st of next year if nothing else happens. Right? Because we will have to comply, that's the law. 26. Or we can do it and then try to have a change. Whatever the board wants to do. I mean, but I'll have to take legal advice on it.
Well,
I don't know that the board can just do, and just ignore. A requirement.
yeah, there's no state requirement that any zoning ordinance be adjusted to. There's no law that we have to put that in our zoning ordinance. It's nice to do because we want to stop common.
No, there's no laws. the no law that says a zoning ordinance has to reflect every part of the change, but having said that. Zoning board needs to be aware of what it wants,
Yeah, I think we're aware of it.
but this board is,
Yeah,
but if. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, this board comes over. And people don't know. That they're supposed to comply with this, then.
that's, I don't. Well, right now, I'm looking at the streets between now and July 1st. Yes, whether it's in our zoning or it's not. It's a law and we have to go through it. Right now, we have to do the one parking spot. So. So, I mean, I was thinking that. That's just not gonna happen till July 1st, I haven't put it in. Unless we could make sure we have language that some change happens, then it's less. Adventurous than the current one, ours isn't still as adventurous, so like that keep happening. And I know if we did that. And if we didn't do that, then maybe we should. I mean, there's no law against it. Not putting in HB 631, so ordinance on this file. Next year, if it goes through and all the land. I'm afraid that if something did happen, and we discussed it last time, if something did happen, and there's otherwise lessened in its degree. Or taken out altogether, I don't want to. We still see you can do it.
Well, if it doesn't happen, we still have the ability to meet as a board and make the removal or the change.
Well, keep in mind that,
Yeah.
if we put this in, but let's put it scenario. If we put this in and it changes again before July 26th, July 2026, July 1, then the new law actually will take effect from whatever date it says. So we would be required to follow that law instead of this.
Right, and that new law.
But if anything that we said, right?
Yeah.
Going requirement.
Yeah, but right now, it's not a unit requirement total for your current language. And I guess my point is, do we wish to try to mitigate it at all, or are we just gonna just want to take it?
Well, that's a separate topic outside of amendments to the zoning ordinance.
So it's pertinent to whether or not it's included.
Agreed.
And if we're not gonna, if there's really no desire to do that, and we figure it's fair and it's gonna help housing and it's
Yeah.
good families, which is, I get more about families and about businesses anyway. Then that's fine. If we are gonna do something, then we should honestly do this. And if we're gonna do something big, you know, like try to mitigate zone, change zones, things like that, but there's no desire to do that, then.
I mean, then those things can happen in parallel, no? And we can still continue with public hearing, we can still continue as if they're going in and have discussion separately in parallel, because these won't go in effect until we have a public hearing on them, correct?
So there are up to 2 public hearings, we're targeting December for the first one. And then if we require a second one, it would be early in January, don't have an exact date. Probably by the first meeting in January to meet the other requirements. And at that point, at the very latest at that point, the board would have to decide whether to do this or not. Because it has to be, public hearing has to be noticed. We would have to post this online again. And do a public hearing to remove it or add it, depending on which way it goes.
And review warrant articles and we have separate warrant.
Yeah, well, that's why the early January date is really about that date.
So maybe the voters vote on the full. And here.
Here's the problem with sort of mistake in regard to this. Regardless of whether the voters vote on
I fully realize state law. Our zoning, I'm just talking about. Trying to do something to mitigate. So and it's not lock ourselves into something that might go with lessons.
So can we seek counsel from the town as to whether or not we can work to have this field changed?
the actual RSA.
Yeah.
You just gotta come up with alternative language, have a senator or submit it, file, introduce the bill, and then it goes through all the regular committees that probably go, if you do it housing. Same exact page that this one went through, so you'd wanna, I mean, strategically, you see who's for, and if you don't put the folks that are against it. Kind of get them on with whoever our rep is that's introducing, bring them to introduce themselves. And it happens every year, that's how 631 came about.
It is.
It was a continuing struggle between towns and developers.
Yeah, many of the bills last year didn't make it out of committee,
Yeah.
or the table.
Yeah,
I mean, come back around this year, and then.
I mean, that's certainly bigger, but. A lot more difficult in out of our venue other than help the right language for whoever's going to do it. The only thing we could really do is try to mitigate either by changing one of the words, one of the allowable uses and one or two of the zones, maybe rezoning. Make some of what's currently red residential. Now this doesn't affect that anymore, it's not allowed.
If we wanted to do that, we've got a month. Have to be something next.
Yeah, or we could, if we get it in next year, it might be open for a while, but then it might close after a year, something like that, or 10 months. I mean, my point is that now is the time that if we're gonna try to something to get right on.
So I guess the question tonight is, if the board want to include this or not? Because we'll have to post, we can meet again in next meeting in November. One more time, we have one more chance to meet. But after that, then we must decide what's going into the public notice. Right? Because immediately on Thursday after that meeting, we have to publish by Friday that public notice to make the December 3rd meeting, public hearing date. Now we can also push the public hearing to the middle of December, that meeting, if we want, to give for the board to have more time think about this while we go through it. So we have a little flexibility in the dates. December 3rd is only because it's historically what we try to do target. And
Yeah,
it's time where we got, if anything comes up.
More forward and
Yeah.
Where that, I just wondered, is there any appetite?
Any
Mr.
comments?
Chair, is there
Any comments from the board? I have comments, but I'll defer. Mike, you spoke, anyone have any comments today?
I mean, my only concern with it is, you know, obviously that we are. As a town, the way we're set up, we have very little commercial property. You know, we have several large tracts that are that the zoning board has seen in the past few years that people are trying to build housing on. You know, so I mean, it's one of the you know, it's a housing crunch, and I think I get the idea of where this was going, but by taking it out of the local control and bringing it to the state level, I think they're doing a disservice to many of the communities. You know, I mean, I think if you look at Allen Center and look at affordable housing in Allen Center, we carry more than a care as far as most towns in the state. So I just don't know. I mean, I don't know how the best way to go about it. If memory serves me correctly, one of our reps was a sponsor of this bill. And so pretty sure he's not going to be willing to change it, you know.
So given that we still have, you know, a couple of weeks, if we want to defer, we have a couple of weeks to decide. Do you want me to reach out to legal? See what they think? it was, you know, what's the risk of just essentially not doing this and knowing that we have to comply by July 1, 2026 anyway.
Well, I think that's probably. There is no legal right. To not put it in.
No, not legal, it's just advice from legal on whether it's a reasonable thing to do or thing we should do or not do or whatever. Just
We put limitations on it since we happen to be a town with very little commercial land and we just do it. It's not like a town with this much or more can do it.
no.
That's what we're gonna, try to. Just change the.
Basically, the RSA states notwithstanding any provision in the contract.
So
Shall out. So,
the commercially zoned land. That's into. Industrial. All of it.
All of it mentions the retail and all of it
Yeah.
mentions. Office space.
So if we pull out retail and office space out of. The industrial. And
Right then it would be.
it would stop with such a.
no, it would be because it's in the zone, so you'd have to rezone that, it's zoned commercial.
The definition is the, in the statute.
Yep.
If you read the definition, it says, meaning retail. Office space,
Yeah, for.
and that's why it applies to our business and our industrial, and not just because it's on the name.
But if
It's only
we,
part of the sub.
hang on a second. By right, retail and business allowed in commercial zone. If you take it out, then it's still gonna be requested by special exception. So we have to go to the ZBA, and if the ZBA grants variance, then we have to allow it, right, so.
Right, but it's not by right, like it is right now. If it's right now, it's fine, right?
But so taking out retail and business. Won't rezone those properties, that zoning is.
I understand, it's still under the exact same zone footprint. Same as with the industrial, for example, and it's all three, but industrial. Right now, we allow retail and we allow office. So that's what allows HB 631 to require that we allow cluster houses. And if we didn't have that in industrial, then
No.
631 wouldn't apply.
It says such as, which means it's not the only thing to consider.
But it doesn't say industrial.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial zone. The regulation gives an example. Of commercial activities such as retail and office. Right? So by removing those, it does not prevent multi-family developments from going into that zone.
Into industrial zone.
Right.
That's what we should ask the lawyer,
Right, that's, you know,
because I can,
because those retail and business parks are just two examples of what could be in an industrial zone area.
and, right, and there's no overriding definition of commercial. In the state, and there's no overriding definition of commercial in ours, so.
Right.
Right now. The retail and office space. Primary point to go to make an argument on any of them. So I think that,
But the area of land is still zoned commercial. Regardless of what we say is allowed in there.
business and industrial,
As a town, we would have to rezone that land. To something else. Before we could prevent multi-family developments.
rezone to what, business or industrial?
Rezone to residential or.
You're saying it doesn't matter. Well, I think it does matter, and I think that would be a good question for the lawyer, I guess.
Would be,
If
I
that
think
was-
it'd be valuable to table. get more information, because I think we're cooking with all the ingredients. And I think we need to get a little more information before we can actually have an informed discussion on this, especially including definitions. So I think it would be valuable to get insight before we continue the discussion, because then we'll have all the information, including our recourse.
So Michael, just so I capture your position. The position is that if the planning board amends the by right allowance in
Office or
commercial,
retail.
so retail office,
Yeah, particularly with the business and, sorry.
your contention is, your point is that would then not require us to allow multi.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll reach out and see if that wise, and if that's been great.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay, yeah,
The other, I mean, speaking of rezoning, we might want to look at that zoning map.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was thinking the same, I mean, I'm for residential. But, just not,
I'm more for protecting our residents and our neighborhoods. If you look at if you drive down off of road from Route 28, the whole left side of the road. So,
yeah,
and that was 2013, there was some survey, I don't know. Who's on that,
If it's something I was just.
there was, it's right. In 2013, the latest, or the 2016, our latest business, our town plan, master plan 2016.
yeah,
And that rezoning was based on a 2013 survey of folks in the town residents who said, and their questions were, do you support commercial and industrial on Route 3 and 28 corridors? I think 26 people said yes. And it was like, it wasn't a large enough population. It was like, you probably like, dozen people. And it was all rezoned based on that. So I don't think there's something so written in stone that we could never change it for residential.
right. Well, I mean, the town is definitely established down there, and it would just be. It would be out of place, and there's a lot of opportunities for. I mean, and nobody thinks of it as residential. I mean, or anything but residential, you know, and so it might be something that we want to adjust just to the current. What's currently there as opposed to, you know. What somebody wrote 20 years ago, or whatever. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah, they got one wanted to.
I mean, that's probably,
108 pages.
that's probably a 2027 zoning amendment. And honestly, I don't think we can get redistricting done for time to meet the timetable.
Yeah, but even if someone gets a toe in the water, we get a little bit of stuff if we at least have a fix in sight for president. Get too overwhelming over the years. Or something to start, and then later.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to relook at that now, because that was what me, that half of the road is.
Yeah,
If we look
yeah,
at
that's
it,
the farm line is in the town, you know.
but
So do we need motion to table this to next, or?
No, just on that, on this one.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mike. Any other final comments on this?
I would be okay with leaving the section in for now, so that we don't have to re-publish or renotice, because it is current state law, and if it does change, then I think that we can come top of mind as an important issue for our town, and just remove it at that time. Is my thoughts.
Moving on to the unapproved minutes from the October 1st meeting. do I have a motion to?
Michael, you specifically mentioned updating the table of uses.
Oh, yeah.
For family,
We gotta be in spirit.
group. Group chat.
Can we go back to that, table of uses?
Yeah.
Flea market on the left hand side,
Mark.
yeah, can you just update, this is flea market?
Oh, Mark. Yes, thank you.
You spell it right with the constantly.
And I don't have the right, I mean, you mistake and lost right over it.
All right, now moving on to the approved minutes, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 1st meeting?
So,
All right. All right, roll call vote.
Frank Grantly, I.
Rhoda Rush, aye.
My personal, I,
Caitlin, aye.
Ryan,
Thank you.
all right, so we have some correspondence, Mike.
Yes, so, all right, so I was want to talk about the, hearing notice for sale of the next time. Change.
Okay, we did, we moved on, but Jen, we had a comment about, Dawn.
Yeah, so. I'm sure everybody's been to like Hampton Beach or whatever, and you see all those signs that say so and so realty on the outside of all the houses that are either being Airbnb or being. And if you drive down through that side of town, like down by the mill and all of that, there's probably 15 houses that have these signs on. And it just doesn't feel like a neighborhood, it feels like. I don't know, it just the signage, we've never allowed signage, and I don't know if it. And for a long time, Brian had talked to people and pulled them. But they're popping up
Yeah,
and we don't have, I'm not sure if it's concrete in the zoning anywhere. I just don't think realty sign can be permanently placed on a house.
Are you seeing it more and more?
Yeah, they're just there, like advertising their realty. You know what I mean, so and so realty, or so and so. Like homes,
Yeah, almost
you
like
know,
the builder.
the builder, I think it's rents, rents the house,
Oh.
you know what I mean, so if you're looking for a house,
yeah,
you can, by all means, give me a call. Type thing, so it's kind of an odd thing.
Yeah,
And you see that in the beach communities, because all those rentals, they all have call us to rent this summer or whatever. It's just, it doesn't feel right,
yeah,
and it doesn't look right. And with more Airbnbs, I just would hate to see.
I don't think there's not specifically any signage regulation that speaks to that. But there might be something else we can hang our hat on.
Brian, I know Brian has had some success in the past,
Yeah.
but he's not up for running much, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Are they in, like, in one of the, like, peg signs that are, front of the property, they're on the home?
They're attached.
Okay.
so they're permanently
permanent.
advertising rental.
Rentals, yeah, and I mean, the home might be full, but.
Yeah.
They probably have 17 of them.
Sure.
Give me a call, I'll find you the slip.
And they're on actual family homes, not businesses, things like that.
Yeah, they're on homes,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I think if you drive down Ferry Street alone, you'll see.
okay,
So it's just kind of one of those things, and they're just starting to pop up more and more, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it bugs me. I don't know why, but
yeah,
it just kind
no,
of
it's
bugs
gonna
me.
be important. You take a look at, I'll take a look at the sign, anything we can use,
Mhm.
that's gonna be in there. Which then would become a code enforcement issue rather than a planning board issue. And if not, we could consider. We adopt some new language. And assign each part of the regulation. So let me look at that and see if I can come up with something for the next meeting.
Question 2. The fence ordinance we put in,
Yeah,
who's that? Who's the enforcement?
That will be code enforcement, and the new zone is code enforcement.
Yeah. About that, but
Yeah. Planning board has no enforcement authorities in New Hampshire, planning boards have no enforcement authority, that's up to code enforcement. Unlike other states where, well, a lot of other states have time, I mean, they sure as heck do have code enforcement authority.
so if we get more with them, then the next probably is board of selectmen.
Yeah. The next, this, or in town, yeah.
We have one go up that I know I'm gonna hit this first. But
Yeah. So they're not compliant, but,
when I. So,
yeah,
So won't they have to do something with them? They don't get hit because they are not complying.
well, yeah, I guess, I don't know, but that's a fight that we all, you know.
That makes sense.
it's, their attorney, our attorney, for,
Yeah.
unnecessarily, right, so,
Yeah, it's easier for them to. Once.
yeah,
If they have a permit,
no,
because if that's checked first,
no,
right?
they don't,
What's the fence made of?
I think,
There should be more damage to plow.
no, one day, wow.
What? Alright, we'll take a look at that, we'll see. Yeah, I think it's an enforcement matter rather than.
Do we have any updates from the
No.
inspector?
No updates from Brian, well. Sort of kind of know, but yes, so let me go through it real quick. So, I don't know if you were all on board on time, but, Allentown Aggregate requested first the variance and then site plan to put up a second building on the property on Second Grand Street. Well, unfortunately, they did not do it within the 2-year time frame of the variance, nor within the 1-year time frame for requesting a building permit. So they now have to go back to the ZBA and reapply all over again. And then most likely have to come back to the planning board for another site plan application. That's just how it works.
Process for an extension.
No, well, the RSA says for a good cause. But apparently, nobody can come up with for a good cause.
You can't give us an even?
It's not us, it's not us. It's not the town, it's the outcome. So they are
Fine.
Right.
They are coming in tomorrow at 3:00 to meet with Ryan and potentially chair the ZBA key clause. To discuss how the ZBA can move the variance application forward quickly. So given on how soon that could happen, planning board may or may not see an application for a site plan review before all of this. Or not, it will certainly see.
Unfortunately, that property, and the last time it was sold was. They had the materials on hand and they didn't need to have a site plan because they already had approved.
There was
So
a
they were postponing the construction. For some reason.
But you must follow a permit building within 1 year of north of the city. That's what the rules say. So, and they didn't, so it's a double whammy for them, they didn't do it, they had 2 years from the variance side of the ZBA side of equation. They had 1 year from the planning board. They didn't do it, so if they had pulled a permit. But not actually worked on it, it would be okay, because they wouldn't have to go back to the planning board, they would have to go back to ZBA. Because it didn't act within 2 years, on actually, moving forward, so it's one of those. I don't know what happened, I'm privy to that, just it happened, and now we're kind of stuck. So there's really apparently no for good cause. Argument that can be made, which, you to yourself to decide what happened. The other piece of news is Alderson Hardware has confirmed that they will be moving into the old Rite Aid location.
Yes.
Hopefully by next week.
Wow.
So that's a piece of good news.
That's-
That's good news. And finally, and just to mention tonight, but flood, sand and gravel, affectionately known as Chuck Hill, across from Sully's on Penn Street. They're they're already excavating there.
Yeah, they blasted twice.
So you have to find out if they actually need an excavation permit.
Yeah,
Because their existing one may not cover what they're doing there, so more to come from that. I'll be digging into, I only found out that this afternoon, so I'll be digging into that more, have more information for you at the next meeting.
Yeah, I got a figure for now. That. They would need to remove 1.4 million cubic yards to make it buildable.
Yeah, wow, so it'll be a while. Yeah. But probably not that long if they go out of our enough.
I think that tractor, the shop loaded probably 25 times a day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So at 23 yards.
So
Yeah, they're going after it.
Oh, it makes sense to me, because they have plans for, post excavation activities on that site, so that's good, be good for them.
And it's good material for them.
Yeah,
I think it's easier than.
easier than where they are, yeah. Yeah, I just know every time they blast it, because my house shakes.
It gets harder now, though, right?
It shakes harder now than it used to, because they're closer. The first time it happened, I thought it was a little truck, earthquake tremor, but it wasn't, no, it was done.
I see it. In the last 2 months, they blasted at both pits, and I really feel bad for the people at Bearview Crossing.
I know,
Because
it's getting it from both sides.
I mean, it's stuck in the middle.
That's all I got, Chair.
And we, our proposed meeting, next one is November 19th, which it sounds like we're gonna have a
We're going,
discussion.
we will meet on November.
Yep.
For sure.
If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Monday. Fine. Roll call vote.
Mike J. I.
Try.
I.
People and I.
Ryan, aye.
And adjourn at 7:17. Thank you, everybody.